Dana, are you there? Hi, Aaron.
Steve, where are you?
I'm in my, sitting at the kitchen counter. It's kind of
Oh,
dark. You can see the logs supporting this second floor there.
I love it. Normally, are you like you're in a room that has high ceilings and an animal in it, right?
Well, that's in the upstairs where my elk is hanging on the wall.
Nice.
This is winter time. It's nice for being the wood stove's like 5 feet away from me, so this is
That
a
sounds
warmer
lovely.
spot.
Hello.
Oh,
Hi.
hello, Tele.
Sorry, I gotta change my name.
I was like, that really threw me off.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it just defaults. How are you guys? Sorry, I was having issues getting on the Zoom link.
Sure.
Well, the link worked really well for me today.
Good.
The one on the agenda said Zoom link was all it said. It didn't have
It was
the,
hyperlinked in there, so you should have been able to just click on it.
yeah, and that worked. That worked fine.
Perfect.
So Dana, I don't have a list of members. I don't know if you
I
got the
will pull that
email.
up.
I have the list of who was at the meeting last month was all.
Let me just find that list. And I'll put it in the chat for you, but I can go through and check people off if that's helpful.
Sure, sure. If you want to do the roll call when we get there. Looks like people still joining here. Let's see, we have 9. Well, I think we will probably have more join us as we go along. So let's get the meeting started. I'll call this meeting to order. Today is February 1st, 2024. This is the RTCC meeting of Northwest Hog. RTCC means Regional Transportation Coordinating Council, I think, or committee. I can't remember. I can never remember which. Let's see. Dana, you have the list of members. Could you call the roll, please?
Sure thing. Jeff Weitzel. Anyone here from the lift? Dave Johnson?
Noticed that when somebody tries to interrupt.
We have Dave Peshnachak here from RAFTA.
Okay, perfect. And if you could come off mute because I'm updating the sign-in sheet just to say that you're here, that would be helpful. Ann Findley.
Ann Findley is here.
Hi, Ann. And then Jonathan Flint said he's not going to be here. Don Dexter. Anyone from Eagle County Human Services?
This is for a boy. It's for auditors.
I'm Eagle County Public Health. This is Mandy.
Hi, Mandy.
Rows of this curl, but maybe that.
Sheila Strauss. Carly Rittman. Lori Williams.
Just make it straight.
And then Steve's here. What about Ron Drinkwine?
Sorry, real fast. Lori Williams is out of town. I'm Lizzie. I'm here, kind of as
Okay.
her.
Hi, Lizzie. Jeremiah Pedri. Joy Backham.
I'm here.
Hi, Joy. Tracy Fletcher. Aaron is here. Ruth Hostetter. Jessica Valand. Linda Byers. That's everyone on our list as far as members. Do you want me to also call off the additional participants and stakeholders, Steve?
Maybe what we could do is those who are on the screen, maybe we should just go around and each introduce ourselves real quickly, say what organization you're representing, and that way we can all get to know each other a little better.
Perfect.
So I will start. I'm Steve Child. I'm a Picken County Commissioner and I'm chair of the RTCC committee. I'm in my last year now of being a county commissioner because I will be term limited. So I have 1 year to go. Let's see. Mandy, why don't you go next?
No, actually.
Hi, I'm Mandy DiCamello. I'm the Healthy Aging Coordinator for Eagle County in Elgin, which is serving the 60 and over population. Yeah.
I'll go. I'm Dana Wood. I'm the mobility manager for Northwest COG, and I will pass it to Aaron.
Erin Fisher, Director of Vintage, the area agency on aging that serves Route, Jackson, Grand, Summit, Eagle, and Picken counties.
John Stabney, Northwest COG.
Let's go to Lizzie next.
I'm Lizzie. I am at the Summit County Community and Senior Center. I work with Lori Williams. I'm the Senior Services Program Coordinator. So I do medical transportation and Meals on Wheels and things like that.
And Dawn.
I am Dawn Dexter. I work for Roaring Fork Transportation Authority. I'm their operations manager, mostly in customer service and paratransit.
Okay, thank you, Dawn. David, I haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you.
It's good to see you too. Sorry, I was a little slow on the mute and video before. I'm Dave Pesnichek. I'm the mobility coordinator with RAFTA.
Okay, and Anne, let's go to you.
Hi, this is Ann Findley. I'm the planner at Summit Stage.
Welcome. Other people don't have their videos up, but let's go to Joy.
Hi, I'm Joy Bockham. I work for Northwest Colorado Center for Independence, and I'm the transportation coordinator.
Thank you, Joy. Let's see, Aaron from CDOT. Aaron, we can't hear you. Let's see, let's go to Alex Soto while Aaron's trying to solve her issue.
Hi, I'm Alex Soto, Operations Manager for the Summit Stage.
Okay, welcome, Alex. Okay, Aaron, if you solve yours, you can introduce yourself later. Let's, I think, I don't know if we have a quorum actually or not. We have a bunch of us here. Let's just continue on with the review of the agenda. Actually, I have a question for everybody. Do you like the way that the agenda is formatted, or do you have any suggestions for changing it? Dana and I worked on putting this together, and this is our first published work here, right? You might say. So if you have any suggestions on improvements to this, feel free to send them to us, or, you know, you could say, give ideas out loud right now. Does anyone have any changes to the agenda or things you would like to add today? Okay, just looking at it real quickly, we're going to approve the December 2023 minutes. We'll have an update on CDOT grant application process. Dana will give a report on both the RTCC and the Intermountain TPR, as well as other funding opportunities. We do not have a vice chair right now. We would like to hopefully have an election today where we pick a vice chair. And then we'll have a discussion of a possible transportation summit sometime in the coming year. The report about connecting the Elgibel and Basalt routes for getting people to the Elgibel Senior Center. And a report on the summit stage, Silverthorne to Kremling route, and then partner updates. So I think let's just go ahead, and I'm not sure if we have an agenda or, I mean, a quorum or not. Let's go ahead and just approve the December 2023 minutes. If we have to redo it in the future, but turns out we don't have a quorum today, then we will do that again. So
I think we
does
do.
anyone...
I think we do have a quorum, just barely.
Okay, thanks, Dana.
Yep.
So does anyone have any additions or changes to the December 2023 minutes? They look good to me. If I could have a motion and a second from two different people to approve the December minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the December 2023 minutes.
Okay, Aaron moved. Is there a second?
Second, this is Mandy.
Okay, thank you. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Is anyone opposed? I don't think anyone would be opposed, but. Okay, let's see. Dana, I will pass it on to you to give an update on the CDOT grant and your report.
Sure. So our 2024 mobility grant from CDOT, we are still waiting for that final contract. And Aaron is on the line here, but there's been some holdup with the state controller's office. It doesn't really affect us as really, it's just a holdup on their end. And we can still incur our costs. We just can't reimburse for them off the bat. So just a little bit of a glitch with that. So we should be getting that contract soon. I think, is Aaron, are you trying to talk?
Yes, but can you hear
Okay,
me?
perfect. Yes, now I can.
I apologize. That was just executed.
Oh, perfect.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. So that
So we're good to go.
is awesome. That's updated on the 2024, so we should get that very soon. My role with the Intermountain Transportation Planning Region is very similar to the RTCC. I am coordinating that group and really making sure that they are in compliance with all of the other TPRs and state legislation. So getting IGAs signed, getting bylaws updated if necessary. And then we are also planning an in-person kind of retreat to reestablish norms and the purpose of the IMTPR group in April. And my hope is that once we establish those norms, have a clear vision, and can do the same with RTCC, that we can kind of have these groups talk to each other a little bit more, and feed into each other, knowing that RTCC is a little bit more regionals, you know, first and last mile, smaller project focused. How does that feed up into partners with IMTPR with some of those bigger projects over, you know, a course of a few years? So that's kind of what we'll be focusing on the next year with both of these groups, is re-energizing and figuring out purpose and, you know, what makes us show up and how do we get things accomplished that really help folks in our communities have better access to transportation. Any questions on that? I sent an email to everyone and I did include it in this packet, just some additional funding opportunities that you all might want to look at for some of these smaller projects. I know that that has come up in some of my individual conversations with partners. So those are pretty good resources. And I also did gain access to this mobility funding database called Candid. I haven't poked around there, but I think it does offer up some additional mobility specific funding opportunities that we might be able to tap into. And then lastly, on the funding piece is, if I'm not able to connect you with funding sources, I can connect you to my coworker, Jonathan Godes, who is our regional grants navigator. And that is his specialty, is really finding funding opportunities that will work. So that is what I have on those pieces. I'm updating our website alongside Tele with all things IMTPR and RTCC. Yeah, any questions?
Not seeing any hands. I guess just a general comment. Dana and I have had discussions which we'll talk about more of the idea of the transportation summit, but we really would like to have the, you know, close working relationship with the IMTPR and the RTCC working together on projects and be able to do more going forward than probably either one of us has been able to do up to date, working individually. And that was part of the purpose of the grant that we got that allowed us to hire Dana to be the RTCC staff person. I'm not sure what your exact title is, Dana, but you
It's
also
mobility
feel that
manager.
mobility manager. It's much more important than just staff person. She has an important role that I don't think we have had your position in as high of a status as it is now, thanks to the grant that we got from CDOT. So we have high hopes moving forward that we'll be able to accomplish more in the future. I know there's been some frustration that people feel the RTCC doesn't do anything, and we have had a very limited role in past years, which we hope to expand to a much bigger role. So let's move on to vice chair election. Aaron Fisher had been serving as the vice chair, just temporarily. We really need to have, I think, a different person from Erin, since she is in her role as the head of vintage and, you know, a much bigger role to play than being our vice chair. We would like to have someone else to volunteer, or a couple people volunteer, and we could actually have an election to pick somebody. But if you look on the screen, you see that the vice chair really only fills in for the chairperson. If the chairperson, me, is not able to be at a regular meeting, or if for some reason I had to resign. I'm not planning on resigning, but you never know what life's curveballs can bring to you. So is there anyone on the call who would be willing to serve as the vice chair for the coming year? The vice chair could also participate in setting up the agenda. Dana and I are doing that now, but and if we do a summit, transportation summit, that would probably be more all hands on deck. The vice chair, I think, would have to work on that also.
And Steve and I will be here to support the vice chair. This is not hopefully sounding like a huge additional workload. I think it'll be fun to plan our summit and to have another person that can dedicate a little bit of time towards reinvigorating this group and kind of thinking outside the box as far as who we want to participate. So
if we don't have anyone volunteer today, I would prefer to just leave the position open for now, and hopefully we can talk somebody into, you know, taking a more prominent role.
This is Mandy. I'll
Mandy?
nominate myself.
Well, thank you, Mandy.
awesome.
Is there anyone else who would want to be vice chair, or volunteer to be vice chair? If not, I would need a motion to elect Mandy DiCamillo as the vice chair of RTCC. I will nominate Mandy, but we need a second to that nomination.
This is Erin. I'll second.
Okay. All in favor of having Mandy be our vice chair, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? I can't see how anyone would be opposed to having Mandy do anything. Very capable and personable person Mandy is. Okay, welcome. Thank you, Mandy.
Thanks, Mandy. Excited to work alongside you.
Thanks, you're welcome.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is discussing a transportation summit. Dana and I were just tossing around some ideas on how to broaden the role that RTCC does. In the past, we really were involved with just arranging transportation for Medicaid patients and veterans going to medical appointments. And we see that there's we could take a much broader role in providing transportation for any aging Coloradans in our community, you know, in our counties, to get much better coordination between the different transportation systems, which we have quite a long list of different county and municipal transportation systems. in our area, but there are gaps in the connecting between those. We have the bus service, which has expanded to provide more frequent service to more places in our counties. But we don't really have, we're not really getting together and talking about possibilities and creating connections that I think would be useful for, broadening the role of RTCC, broadening the role of the Intermountain TPR. So I propose the idea of having a transportation summit sometime later this year. And I would think when, it'd be in the summertime or late spring, when after the winter storm are past and people could travel. So this would be, I envision, a one-day summit where we would all be together in one location and could do some brainstorming, have people meet each other in person, make those connections, try to come up with an action plan for steps that we could take as RTCC, and that hopefully that the Intermountain TPR could take on their part to just provide better mobility solutions for everyone in our communities. This would be a pretty big undertaking to do a one day thing, but it certainly is a doable thing. And I would like to kind of see what people think about that and what are your ideas about it. I would see maybe doing this in maybe in May would be, I think, the earliest we would want to do it, but it could be sometime, anytime during the summertime or early fall even. Aaron, you looked like you were going to say something, but then you didn't.
That was, oof, it's already February. May's coming up quickly. And then I was trying to figure out how to raise my hand, but thanks for reading my mind. I love this idea, and kind of to Dana's point about reinvigorating the group, I think that this could be a great way to do that. Summertime normally lends itself to more planning and preparation and better weather. So I love that idea of June, July, August, September kind of idea. I also have been talking to a group that did our CASOA, which was the community assessment of older adult needs. And they had approached me because they had read an article about transportation specifically for older adults. And I know that this group is more encompassing than just older adults, but they have some great data. I was thinking about, the state demographer's office and just maybe doing some level setting around data and then diving in, and maybe that's in small groups. Or I liked your idea, Commissioner Child, about doing some of that brainstorming. So maybe breaking off into groups as far as that goes to talk about, hey, this is working really well in my region, or this is still a gap that needs to be figured out in my region. And my only request, which I'm sure y'all have already talked about, is just having a really clear cut purpose, or it might be a few purposes, meaning invigorating the group, getting us back in person because it's been a very long time, and then having some really specific goals in addition to that. I always appreciate that going into like a conference or a day-long event, kind of like, okay, what are we really trying to walk out of here with?
I love that, Erin. And you're reading my mind. That's how I operate, is let's get together so that we have some action oriented things that we want to work on and that folks feel excited about. And worth their time coming to these meetings and spending maybe some extra time working outside of meetings. And I think having like a collaborative development of the day, not just with Steve, myself, and Mandy, but from others within the group. I think Mandy and Ann both have some really great projects that they want to bring to the group. So, you know, those things could be included on the agenda. Like, how do we develop an action plan for these to help support our partners and, you know, get their projects off the ground? So love it. Thanks for that.
Erin, you had mentioned September. September actually could be a really good month to shoot for doing this. That gives us plenty of time. Summertime can be crazy for me because I'm liable to be in Alaska for part of the summer, and I have irrigating water to take care of and various things like that. So doing it in September for me personally, I think would be better. And that gives us more time. We still would have good roads for everybody to get, barring on real early fall winter storm, which occasionally happens in Colorado, but hasn't happened for quite a long time.
Mandy, I like that idea also, because that gives us at least 6 months to plan this, so that works good for me.
Okay. And I think what we probably should do is set up a working group to start fleshing out ideas. I mean, we don't have to work on it real hard right now, but if we can start organizing it a little bit right now, and we could do some of that right now, but maybe doing it on a separate call might be a better way to do it. That would give people time to think of ideas on it, and because we need to figure out location, the specifics, who would be invited. And I would hope that we would have representatives from CDOT, because Mustang is a very important part of our transportation system. It would be good to get members of the veteran service officers from counties involved in it. Get representatives from each of the senior centers in the different counties and from all the different bus systems. Also, I think the mobility in terms of just pedestrian and bicycle kind of safety is also important issue to take into account. So everybody can be thinking about who would be the best people to invite to such a summit.
And what I can do, Steve, is put together like a draft, kind of just like summit day agenda for folks to react to. And then kind of start a list of folks that we want to attend and how we're gonna reach out to them and encourage them to come.
Hey, does anyone else have any further ideas on this idea of the summit right now that you'd like to share? I know it's a new concept. We wanted to get it in everybody's mind to be thinking about it. So I'm sure you will be getting ideas right after this meeting and going forward. And if you come up with any ideas or suggestions, maybe get them to Dana and she can be our collection area for the information and the ideas, the list of people to invite. and so forth. Also list of projects that you would like to see us take on, or problems you are having in your community that need solving, that maybe the whole group can put their heads together and help solve individual issues in our own communities. Okay, anything further on this from anybody?
I was just gonna say, just I always know because we book rooms here, and I don't know if where we're thinking about doing this, but the sooner we have a date and probably a place is probably, it seems like 6-7 months goes really fast. And I know like if, you know, depending on where we want to go, that makes a difference on booking you know, if we're gonna do it here, we can get it on the books at the center here, but I just feel like that's probably the number one thing to do right away is pick a date and a location.
That's a good idea, Lizzie, and just having people save the date on their calendar, because people's calendars can fill up really quickly. So we will try to come up with a location. So Lizzie, could you describe your location as a possible one? Would it be
Yeah.
just at the senior center in Frisco?
Yes, the community and senior center. So we have a
Okay.
pretty big area, and we also, I don't know how many people are coming, but we do lunches on Tuesday, Thursday. So if that's something we wanted to do, we could put that into it somehow. You know, we have a great chef. So that's another thing. Like if it's going to be an all day thing or something that takes over lunch, we might be able to work it into a Tuesday, Thursday lunch where he just makes extra food. Just because it's convenient not having to cater something in if you're thinking about it being a lengthy meeting.
That's a great idea. I
Huh?
love that suggestion, Lizzie.
Me too. Sounds great.
That really sounds good to me too. And Frisco is very centrally located for, I think, everybody in our region.
Do we want to go ahead and, oh, it looks like Anne's willing to help plan the summit too. Awesome. Thank you, Anne. Do we want to go ahead and pick a date right now? And then that way I can get it out to folks sooner rather than later.
Yes, I say pick a date.
So for me, not doing it on a Tuesday because we have BOCC meetings every Tuesday. So on a Thursday would be what I would prefer for my schedule. So let me look on September. Thursdays in September.
What if we did September 12th?
Yeah, the only thing I have a weekly just agenda planning meeting that I could skip for one time because I'm just the vice chair of our BOCC and don't have to be on the agenda planning every week, but September 12th.
I see that Carly said that Monday, Wednesday, Fridays work best for Eagle County. Are you all able?
Mandy and I both run senior center activities and lunches on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Me and Eagle, her and Elgibel. So not that we couldn't get away, but it's just logistically harder for us those days.
Gotcha. What if we did a Friday?
Lizzie, but you said lunch is Tuesday, Thursday,
That's
right?
right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we could always bring something in too. I was just offering it if we wanted to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's still a great location, even if you're not supplying the food. It is pretty central, like Steve said. There's parking, and it seems like you always have a room somewhere in there, Lizzie, of the 4 or whatever when they're all divided out, right?
Yeah, and we don't book, we only book 6 months out, so nothing's on the books for September yet.
Perfect.
Okay, so maybe we could always get lunch from some other, just have it catered locally. I would like to have Carly and Mandy there, and I know if it was Tuesday or Thursday, you're gonna be at your senior centers of doing your lunches there, so that is a good point to consider. So
What about the
maybe
11th or the 13th?
I would stay
Let's
away from
see.
Fridays in September, as it is, in my humble opinion, the best month in Colorado, and you might
True.
lose people if they're planning on having long weekends to camp and hike. So
Mhm.
maybe the 11th. Lizzie, is it an option to contract with your caterer separately?
Yeah, we haven't been doing that. I'd have to check with Lori because we've had a lot of people ask and but we've toyed with changing the dates we do lunches. So I mean, I can chat with her and we can kind of see.
Okay.
But there's plenty of other stuff. I mean, there's Witch and a million other places that bring in food. So
It's just nice to
Yeah.
help support.
yeah, and he's such a good cook. If you guys are ever here, so good.
So let's put that on our calendars Friday, September 13th at the Senior Center in
No,
Frisco.
the 11th,
The
September
11th.
11th.
Now, the
Yes.
11th, I have a conflict on. We have a BOCC meeting all that afternoon that I have to be at.
Let's see.
We could do
What about the 9th?
well, we could do, if we did it a different week, September 4th or September 18th on a Wednesday would work fine for me.
Looked like Dan's not available after September 17th. So what about Monday the 9th for folks?
I have an all-day state union
Nice.
meeting.
Yeah, Mandy and I have a staff retreat that day as well. But it does not need to be planned around us, so please don't think that.
Sounds like this
Just
might be
need to pick a
calling
different
for
day.
a doodle poll.
Yeah, I think we better do a doodle poll. So if we could not do a Tuesday at all, because I have board meetings then, but maybe do Monday, Wednesday, and Friday dates in
We'll do Monday and
September.
Wednesday. I think we might. I don't think we'll get people on Fridays,
Okay,
like Aaron
Monday
had
or
said. We'll
Monday
do
or
Monday and
Wednesday.
Wednesday. Yeah.
Okay, and maybe do all of them in September, and we'll just see what people can go to which ones.
And if I just see Carly's comment, if the 12th, I didn't hear anybody had a conflict with the 12th, and Carly graciously said that if a Tuesday or Thursday works better, that they can organize coverage for that. So I think doodle poll still, but I think the 12th seemed to be a really good day so far.
I mean, Carly, if you're willing to commit to that, getting coverage on that day, we could probably just pick the date now.
Yeah, I mean, Mandy, you can pipe in too. We both seem to have pretty great volunteers and people to jump in for us, so I think we would be okay with that.
Yeah, I'm planning this far out. It'll be easy to have coverage.
Cool. Thank you for being flexible with that. I really appreciate it.
So September 12th is, well, let's tentatively have that be the date then.
I think that's a great idea.
Okay.
Then it
and
saves me from hurting cats with a doodle poll.
Okay. Thank you. That, I'm really glad that everybody's receptive to this idea. Let's move on to the update on connecting the Elgibel and Basalt routes. And I have Mandy and Dawn as the two people talking about this.
Yeah, I'll start. I think mainly it's basically this Roaring Fork Valley that we have a gap in transportation service. Because as we're looking at like Garfield County, there's the traveler that can transport older adults 16 over, like a paratransit. And then they stop at Carbondale. And then at Picken County, there's the senior van that'll transport older adults, but they stop at, I think it's Aspen Village.
Aspen Village, yeah.
Aspen Village. And so we have a gap in this little valley. We have our own transportation for Eagle County that we have Tuesday and Thursday, which will transport older adults. That service is mainly for getting our participants to and from lunch, exercise programs that we have here, and other activities. And what I am seeing an increase in is medical transportation for the residents in this area. And it's taken me a lot of time to find drivers. Most of them are volunteers. And when we can use our bus. But it's I need help. So that's what I'm presenting, I guess, is that there's a big gap here why we can't have paratransit in the valley. And I understand the RAFTA rules and all that good stuff, but yeah. That is what I'm working on. And I do spend a lot of time just on transportation, which really isn't my job or my specialty.
If I can just jump in to piggyback off of Mandy. Dana and Dawn and Mandy and I met this week just to kind of have a deeper dive into this. But for this group's purpose, it's just kind of comes down to like, it feels like we're just this little island of like no service with service all around us. So it just feels like it should be a simple solution. I think that's probably going to need to come from Eagle County's leadership to make that decision. So that's something we're working on. But wanted to throw it out to this group just to see, you know, if we have, especially our friends at RAFTA, any creative ways we could solve this that wouldn't be like tons of red tape, which is really my concern with, you know, entering an IGA or applying for a grant or that kind of thing. That may be what it comes down to, but yeah, that's what we're kind of looking for at this point.
Thanks for bringing that up, Carly. We did brainstorm and kind of came up with like 3 different potential solutions that would have a little red tape, potentially merging with Garfield County's IGA with a traveler, looking for some funding options and contracting with RAFTA. I forget the other one.
So,
One was talking about, oh, sorry, Dawn.
that's okay. I can share, like from RAFTA's perspective, sort of the barriers to like why RAFTA can't just, you know, step in and close that gap, or what the process would be if we were able to close that gap. And David, if you're still online, please correct me if I speak, you know, if I speak an untruth. What's that?
It's almost impossible to tell.
Uh-oh.
You get more.
Can you not hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Dawn.
Oh, I'm hearing okay. Yeah, so we do have public transportation that goes through that area in the corridor, in the main corridor. It is, you know, except all of our buses are accessible with lifts, and every bus that goes through the Roaring Fork Valley does have a lift. So anyone with a mobility device can enter that bus. Our bus drivers are trained if someone needs to get, if somebody can't navigate the stairs or needs the ramp or the lift to be deployed, that's part of their job as a standard. So there is,
Medium roof.
I'm sorry. is there someone that wanted to?
I'll go see if somebody's not on mute. If you're not on mute, can you please mute yourself?
Okay, so there is transportation that goes through the valley. There's the local bus service that goes from Glenwood Springs to Aspen, and then there's the BRT, the bus rapid transit that goes throughout the valley. Now, getting people to that service if they need to go somewhere beyond, where those services travel, is a challenge. But the Basalt, the city of Basalt, in collaboration with RAFTA, with a RAFTA grant, has created something called the Basalt Connect. And I would love to share that. I downloaded that Basalt Connect app this morning, and it's pretty awesome. You can, like, I chose Elgibel Park and Ride going to Eagle County Community Center. And I didn't actually book a ride because I didn't want to throw a wrench into that system. But the process, if you know how to do it, is pretty easy. However, what I'm hearing Carly and Mandy say is that, their service for seniors was originally designed to bring people to the Eagle County Community Center for lunches and activities for seniors. I will put a caveat on the traveler service, which exists in Garfield County, which is a 7-party IGA, does not serve seniors over age 60. It serves people with disabilities, people with an assessed disability that can't access other forms of transportation. So it's not specifically for older adults. It is for anyone who has a disability that prevents them from accessing other forms of transportation. And it does only go to Carbondale. It stops at Highway 133 and the Carbondale city limits, and works towards Glenwood and then Western Garfield County as well. So the senior van is a RAFTA service. It was grandfathered in when RAFTA became a regional transportation authority, and it is for people ages 60 and over. And there are no other qualifiers. If you're 60 or over and you need transportation from Aspen Village, in the Aspen area, going as far as Aspen Village, that is an option that's available to you. So that, though, is funded by the taxpayers, and is part of the agreement of when RAFTA became a regional transportation authority. So that's like a RAFTA service, and it's funded by the taxpayers. The traveler is funded by a 7-party intergovernmental agreement, and 50% of that budget is funded by Garfield County. And then we do have ADA complementary paratransit, which is in conjunction with all of the fixed routes, the City of Aspen fixed routes, the Ride Glenwood fixed route, and the Carbondale Circulator fixed route. Since there isn't a circulating fixed route in the valley, in the Elgibel and Basalt area, that is where the gap, I think, happens. And so it would require some expanded, either a redefinition of what of how RAFTA looks at what a fixed route is, or which would be up to our board and our leadership at RAFTA, or expansion of a service, which of course would have to be from our leadership. So the initial, like, the only solutions that I can see from like an operations manager at RAFTA standpoint is we can both, Eagle County and RAFTA can ask our leadership, how do you want to change this? But one option would be Eagle County could contract with RAFTA to manage their, to dispatch. We do have a paratransit dispatcher on duty Monday through Friday, and so which dispatches the senior van, the traveler, and any of our paratransit services. So that could be Eagle County says, hey, we want to have RAFTA now manage the dispatching and coordination of the vehicle and driver that Eagle County already has. We could look to RAFTA leadership, Eagle County leadership, to see if they want to create something similar to the Basalt Connect, but actually in the parts of Eagle County on this side of on the Roaring Fork Valley side of Eagle County that gets people that first and last mile situation, or Eagle County could say we want to be part of the IGA, and that would be a process as well. In terms of red tape, in terms of a quick solution that doesn't have a lot of red tape, or like a larger ask from leadership, or I'm not sure
because as the paratransit operations manager at RAPTA, I have like a mandate to, I can't change the footprint or the hours of our services like unilaterally without, without direction from leadership. So that's kind of where RAPTA's perspective. And David, if you're still on, please speak up if there's something that I've missed or if I've misspoken.
I don't have any, just one thing to add. No, that was very thorough. Thanks, Don. But the only thing that I would add about the Basalt Connect is that it serves a very limited geographical area. So it only serves between the town of Basalt and Willits. So it does have that limitation. And my understanding as well is that not all of their vehicles are fully accessible. So the service is free to anybody who wants to ride, and it isn't restricted to only going to specific destinations, but it is limited within that geographical area. So it is funded right now by the town of Basalt at 50% and RAPTA at 50%. Their grant, they're part of a grant program called the First Last Mile Mobility Grant Program that RAPTA is tapping to fund the Basalt Connect. They're on year 3 of their available funding for that service. So we're working now to figure out what that service might look like going forward, because they are on their final year of available grants. So I think that there are some limitations there. And another limitation to it too is that it only runs 8 of the 12 months of the year. So while it does run 7 days a week, during the operation, those 8 months, it doesn't run the entire 12 months of the year. So in order to really expand it, I think we would need to identify additional funding. The Downtowner runs that service. So it's the same provider that runs the service up in Aspen. But we would need to talk to them about what those costs would be to expand it, if they would have availability of accessible vehicles to really make it available to everybody. And I think we would need to identify additional funding in addition to potential RAPTA funding past the FLMM funding period. So just to throw that stuff out there, I think it's something that we could look at, but I think it does have some things that would need to be overcome in the long term.
So I have some thoughts also. There are people from Picken County. I know 2 people live in Aspen Village and they go to the Elgibel lunches as well as to the Picken County lunches. Well, the RAPTA bus stop at Aspen Village is not the BRT, it's only the local, Down Valley local stops there. At my stop at Old Snowmass and at Lazy Glen are only local, runs twice an hour. The BRTs run much more frequently than that, but they don't stop at those stops. So if there's someone is wanting to ride RAPTA from Aspen Village to go to lunch in Elgibel on a Tuesday or Thursday, it's more difficult for them to make the bus connection than if they were somewhere they could get on a BRT, which stops right at the Elgibel stop. I could see an issue with some people getting from the Elgibel bus stop over to the Eagle County building, and maybe the Eagle County senior van could meet people at that bus. Maybe they already do, I don't know, but if they could meet people at the RAPTA bus stop in Elgibel and then just carry them over to the senior center for those who aren't able to walk down the stairs through the underpass across a couple of busy intersections, would be much safer for them to just get on the bus, be carried over to the lunch at the Eagle County building. So
Steve, if I can just jump in. Yeah, this really isn't
that's you,
our
Carly. Okay.
Oh, sorry, Mandy. Okay, I was just gonna say, we have ample time and personnel and van space for our lunch days. Our issues are these medical rides. So it's people needing to get from their homes to a medical appointment. And that is where we're seeing the gaps. So our senior van on lunch days picks people up at their front door, brings them to the senior lunch, back home. It's no problem. So that we're totally dialed in with. But these medical rides, people living all over the place, needing to get to all these different medical appointments. It really needs to be like a door-to-door and door-to-door kind of thing, because most people aren't able to navigate connections and buses and that sort of thing.
How many, I'm just curious, because this is what we do, part of my job. How many are you guys talking about a month? Are there a lot? Because we average about, some months we only have 3, some months we have 18 or 20 medical transportations a month. So I was just curious how many people you're talking about.
If this is Mandy, I'm thinking 10 a week for medical transportation, and that includes doctor appointments, physical therapy appointments, lab work, and they have to go sometimes all the way to Glenwood, to Valley View, or Aspen Valley Hospital. So it's a long distance. You're like 30-minute ride one way. Also, a lot of our participants live in neighborhoods that Basalt Connect doesn't go to. So just even across the street is our El Jabal Mobile Home Park. We have a lot of older adults in there, and the medical rides that they need is usually not on a Tuesday, Thursday. So it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I find volunteers to do those rides. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It is, yep.
I mean, because we have volunteers who drive to the Front Range, and we'll go to Boulder, and they go to Vail quite a bit and different places. But I have like about 45 volunteers, and we just use a sign up for it, but we aren't having nearly that many.
Yeah, I guess just because it's this area of a gap that I get all the phone calls. I found another transportation service. It's called Roaring Fork Transportation, and they do medical rides also, but you have to be on Medicaid or have private insurance to cover that cost. Otherwise, you pay out of pocket, which seems very expensive for them because it's like a limousine service. So our 3 options is what we're looking at to move forward with not solving, I guess, just working on this area with the gap of transportation. Yeah.
What happened to the DASH program, which was between Pitkin and Eagle Senior Services, which was the volunteer driver program? Did it meet the demise that a lot of volunteer driver programs did during COVID and then just didn't get back up?
It's me still doing the volunteers, but we switched it from that to what Tina took over with volunteer drivers.
RSVP?
Yes, RSVP. And then now it's just Eagle County volunteers. We're paying them their reimbursed mileage. Yeah.
So I think she's talking about the mileage reimbursement part, Erin. Like, I understand that part. I also don't know like why that fizzled, I guess, because it was a nice collaborative between the 2 counties with volunteer recruitment, and felt like it was a little more, had a brand to it. So I don't know, like, I still think that could be something we could re-energize. It's just that I think what we're seeing is, depending on volunteers for all of these rides, is just a lot. Because I mean, I'm doing over here on the Eagle River side, we might have 25 to 30 a month. But if Mandy's doing 10 a week, I mean, we can barely get volunteers to do all of our rides we need with a pretty robust list. So I think we're heading into territory where it's just like, okay, this is beyond what we can depend on volunteers for.
Agreed, and I don't know what it is about the Roaring Fork Valley that makes it so difficult to get volunteer drivers. And that's part of the reason why A Little Help ended up leaving that area, because I know they wanted to fit a need in what we're talking about here with the volunteer drivers, and they really struggled with it. And to your point, Carly, totally agree that coming up with a program that is solely based on volunteers is really difficult. Plus, you've got the barrier of whatever the reason is with this area specifically, it's been hard. And then I had a third reason, and it completely went out the window. But yeah, I agree that it's difficult. The management of it. So if you're talking about 40 rides a month, and I know that Mandy's already up to here with what she has to do, that is a whole nother part-time staff person that's managing and coordinating a volunteer program. So it's a capacity issue too. I just wondered what happened to that. So I'm not saying that is the solution, but yeah, I get how difficult it is.
We actually, I mean, that's another thing we talked about in our meeting this week is even just finding like the solution of contracting with RAFTA to do the dispatch potentially, like just the coordination end of it. If we couldn't even solve like the actual driving end, if we could get some reprieve for Mandy on the coordination end, that would be huge. Like that to me would be like a step in the right direction for sure. But you know, it's taking over a lot of her job, which I won't go into like the other things we have going in Eagle County that we would rather her be doing, but you know what I mean? It's just like, even just having that piece of it taken off of her plate would be awesome.
So RAFTA definitely, I will speak to my expertise at RAFTA, and I can imagine that our paratransit dispatch group, which consists of one dispatcher, a couple of drivers that are backup dispatchers, and a couple of road supervisors. We have the capacity. Like I see that we could probably have the capacity to dispatch one more vehicle and one more driver. But that would be something that I would need direction from leadership to say we're taking on that. Like a contract with Eagle County might be possibly for that purpose, might be the, and I don't know what the I mean, we could say if it's this many, rides or something, we could come up with some kind of a contractual agreement with Eagle County to fund that. Or I can't speak that RAFTA will take on that responsibility without leadership, without management, without Eagle County and RAFTA leadership saying, yeah, we want this to happen. So we definitely, I think we could have the capacity, and it wouldn't negatively impact our team. I can't see, for Mandy, one person who has a lot of other job to do and isn't dedicated to transportation dispatch, it's a huge undertaking. But for a dispatcher who's sitting in the desk already taking those phone calls, already organizing things, but we do not coordinate, we do not call out, we don't call out volunteers to do driving at this point for any of our services. And I think that is something that I would be reluctant, without knowing what the logistics were, I would be reluctant to take on at RAFTA. Because dispatching volunteer drivers is very much different than dispatching a driver who is dedicated, that's their job for the day.
I think we need to move on to the next agenda item, but I really think that we can continue having this conversation and figure out how we get leadership buy-in and what is the most viable solution. So Carly, Mandy, Dawn, let's keep brainstorming, and please let me know how I can support and how the rest of this group can support.
Yeah, and I'd be glad to be in on those discussions also, since it's a central Roaring Fork Valley issue, which there are lots of transportation problems with traffic jams and accidents and funding. But maybe there is funding available from the list of the funding opportunities that Dana has put on today's meeting agenda, to raise some money to get a dedicated driver from RAFTA or something to help solve this issue. So this is a perfect example of what we could be discussing in a small breakout group at our summit in September. Now to look at another local issue, and that's the summit stage connecting Silverthorne to Kremlin. So Anne, do you want to take the floor here and tell us about that?
Yeah, we haven't actually started anything, but we really want to start the discussion and between Kremlin and us, and also Winter Park Granby. Winter Park already goes to Granby, and I'm sure they've got some employees that live over in Kremlin. I live just 10 minutes south of Kremlin, and I know there's no transportation, nothing whatsoever between Kremlin and Silverthorne. And to me, that's a big missing link. 4 years ago, we started a commuter route to Fairplay and Alma. And in just 4 years, we're up to 3,600 riders per month. The Fairplay Alma has actually surpassed our Leadville route, which has been in existence since approximately 2011. And I really see that we have a really good opportunity in Kremlin. Real estate there is still relatively inexpensive compared to Summit County. And our big stumbling block would be basically to get Kremlin on board. I've written a couple of letters to them and haven't gotten any response. I put up some posters around Kremlin asking people to write to their town council, and I don't think there's been any response. But it would be nice if we could get the various communities surrounding them to encourage them to start the conversation with us.
Does one of the Mustang Pegasus routes, I don't think it does that connection, but there is a service that goes up to Grand County, but that maybe goes over Berthoud Pass. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it goes Berthoud Pass to Kremlin on to Craig. And I think there's only just 1 or 2 stops a day. It might be 1 round trip a day. So there is already some existing Mustang service there.
So that's something to consider, but I think it's probably more likely to have something using the local transit system to just start a new service in that. Kremlin to Silverthorne, is there any, maybe you should do a poll, if you could get a poll that people would respond to of the local residents to see how many people would be using that. Also, how many people, I presume there are people who live in Kremlin or Hot Sulphur Springs or different places who actually work in Summit County and are going back and forth every day. Do you have a feeling for that amount of traffic? Anne?
I would say based on my neighborhood alone, there's approximately 100 houses in my neighborhood. And I would say well over half of them work in Summit County. We did have a customer survey last spring, and I opened it up had it online and opened it up to everybody, including up in Kremlin. and unfortunately got very little response from people in the Kremling, Northern Silverthorne area. But I know even some of the school kids, they go to school in Summit County versus Kremling. And so I don't have any definite numbers yet, but I would say that it could be very popular. I mean, the Fair Play Alma route, it took about 2 years for it to start showing decent ridership. And then last year it just exploded almost overnight. And so I think any service that we can offer is a good thing to link all the various communities up.
Aaron, you have your hand up.
You know who I think would be an amazing champion for this, as a person who used to be the RTCC chair, who used to be the Kremling mayor, and every time I go into Big Shooters, he is there. And I feel like it still
Thomas?
has, yes, Tom Clark. I feel like maybe what is missing is your champion. And Tom Clark, in my opinion, would be your champion and could rally. I mean, as the person who lives there and knows a lot about transportation and utilize transportation, I feel like if you get Tom Clark to push this, he could get that groundswell of support.
Oh, well, that's great to get an actual name of somebody. If you could please email me his contact info, and I'll get in touch with him.
I will. Would you prefer me to do like a warm handoff and connect you two via email?
Yeah, that would be fine. And my name's Ann Findley. I'm not sure if my last name is coming up there.
Okay, yeah, I would love to do that. I think he'd be so on board with that.
And Anne, if there are any ways that I can help support or facilitate additional conversations, happy to talk beyond this and see what we need to do to get something in place.
All right, thank you. I mean, that's the main reason I brought this up today, is just to try to get some contact names and generate some interest. It would be great if somebody would have a contact over in Granby or Winter Park also, and maybe encourage them to link up their section.
Well, how about Charles McCarthy? He is at the town of Winter Park now.
Okay.
Erin, do you want to make that introduction too, since I don't know Charles?
Sure.
It'd be awesome.
Okay, thank you very much.
Would you mind, with the whole Granby Winter Park, we're talking about linking those two to Kremling and round trip, correct?
That's correct. They would go from they're already going to Granby, continue on to Hot Sulphur Springs and Kremling, and then we would go from Silverthorne to Kremling.
Okay, thank you.
So then the people who live in Summit County could get over to Winter Park to go skiing, since there's no skiing in Summit County. One other thought, just for the commuter and the school kids who are going back and forth, maybe Summit Stage could do, it would be geared towards the hours, the commuting hours. So it'd be maybe just a couple runs a day to start out to kind of see how it goes. So it'd be during the commuter time in the morning, and then getting people back in the afternoon, and maybe there'd be 2 different buses an hour apart or something during that time. Might be a way to approach it, to not dive in completely, but to start a partial service geared towards the people commuting, so they can leave their cars at home.
Yeah, that's what we did with Fair Play Alma. 2 runs in the morning and 2 runs in the evening. And then we've slowly added service to that route. And that's exactly what we would do with Kremling. It'd be like 6 and 7 in the morning, or 7 and 8 in the morning, and then like 4 and 5 or 5 and 6 at night. But ideally, we would be parking the bus in Kremling. That's what we do with the Fairplay bus. And so then it's not a round trip in the morning, evening. It's just a one way.
Yeah. Okay, some good ideas coming out of that. Thanks, Ann, for telling us about that. That's just another example of why we would like to do the summit in September, to establish those kinds of connections and come up with solutions for the local areas. Let's see, let's move on to the last thing on our agenda, which is partner updates. And I think I won't call on people, but if anyone has anything you would like to talk about that's happening in your jurisdiction, just feel free to jump in and offer it now.
This is Mandy. I don't have really any updates. Yeah, everything's just going smoothly here and all 3 sites for Eagle County. And I'm actually going to jump off also because we have a lunch day today, so I got to go get everything set up. So thank you so much for listening and offering ideas, and I'm looking forward to working with everybody. So thank you.
Thanks, Mandy.
Thanks, Mandy. I'll talk about an issue in Pickens County. There is one really dangerous, it's a subdivision of the Lazy Glen Mobile Home Park. Getting out onto the highway, turning towards Aspen, there was a fatal accident there that killed a longtime local, very popular person. It's an extremely dangerous intersection. They don't have an acceleration lane. To me, it's a perfect example of a project that the Intermountain TPR should be taking on to try to it would be adding acceleration lane and whatever safety improvements to make that safer. The people riding the bus have a way, there's a pedestrian underpass to get from the 2 sides of the highway there, the 2 RAVTA stops. But for people driving their cars, it is, you take your life in your hands pulling out of there, going towards Aspen. And I don't know if that's a problem, seeking a solution, which probably involves a bunch of money. So I just thought I'd bring that up, that it's just an example of what a project that should be added to the IMTPR list for Northwest Colorado.
Yeah, Stephen, if
Um,
you want me to advocate for that piece, or I don't know if I think you're on the IMTPR list. Yeah, I know that there's already a lot of projects in process, but yeah, just like putting it on people's radar to make sure that it can get prioritized maybe in the future.
And getting them on that list is like a wish list for projects that, maybe in my lifetime that project will get built, but it's like a slow process to get through that list, just because there isn't the funding or the political will on the state level to fund projects in the rural part of the state. Anybody else from other communities? Lizzie, do you have anything? We have your face on the screen here still.
We
I'm
lost a
still
lot
here.
of people.
I know, I'm still here. As our transportation, I think one thing that we are starting to deal with is we have, because we have that volunteer program, but a lot smaller than what they're dealing with. And we have some amazing volunteers, but we've started to see a increase in people from Alma contacting us, wanting our volunteers to help drive them. And it's hard because we don't have funding for that. So like our county car and things like that, it's supposed to be used for stuff in the county. So we're trying to see if we can find some funding that helps with that, because we know there's a need there. But we have a county car that we use, and it's really meant for people in the county. So that's just a little thing we're trying to figure out.
There may
I
be
I had
some-
heard I
Oh,
had
go
heard
ahead,
that
Ann.
I'd heard that Fairplay last year purchased 1 or 2 vans that they're supposed to start using for that type of service and for around town transit. I would think that Alma would contact Fairplay and be able to arrange something with them.
Well, we haven't really figured out contact people that we just get people contact us from Alma asking for rides. So maybe we'll have to look into who we can point them to in Fairplay.
Yeah, I don't have a name per se. Not off the top of my head. When I get back into the office tomorrow, I do have a contact in Fairplay, and I can have her get in touch with you.
That would be great. Thank you.
Okay, those of us on the screen, we are all that's left right now. So I think we
Yep.
won't have any more updates unless John or Aaron has something you want to add for Northwest Cog or from Vintage or anything.
No, I am just delighted to have Dana on board and taking care of business. And I'm sure you have some of the same thoughts, Steve. But Aaron, thank you for carrying the baton for I don't know how long that was, but a while, right? Of chair and a little bit of what Dana was doing, and so yeah, I think we have nothing but upward direction to go. So good conversation today.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
And thanks all of you for being here, and everybody else had to go off to their senior lunch duties, I think. So well, good meeting today, and we'll see you all sooner than later, probably.
Thanks,
So
Steve.
I will
Thanks,
call
everybody.
this, I guess we don't have a quorum to officially adjourn the meeting. I'll just declare the meeting adjourned at this point. Thanks.
10:26. Okay.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.